Okay, this is fun.
277 dropped frames per second.
Well, that was fun. Hopefully we sound better than that. Jeez Louise. Wah in the world. Whatever.
You know
what,
the
guys?
old technical world, how it works.
Sometimes IT stuff just doesn't work out. And since neither one of us work in IT, it's just really hard to figure it out.
We should have turned it on and off beforehand is what we should have
I
done.
did. If we're being real, I totally did.
Well, guys, welcome back to episode 66. Testing Normal. This is Curtis.
This is Jordan.
This podcast where we talk about anything and everything we want. Today's topics are mostly going to be hitting around the tech world.
Tech
world
and health.
A little bit of health.
And what we are calling techitics.
Techie ticks.
That's tech politics.
Techie ticks.
Because so much of the tech world right now is wrapped up in politics.
Deal with politics.
Yeah.
Deal with ticks.
How's your day been, man?
My day's been okay.
How's your week been?
My week's been pretty busy, you know, working. And then I've had some pretty big projects that I've been knocking out in my house. Built some built-in bay window seat. So I just got that knocked out, put some new flooring in.
Well, and you kind of got slowed down on that.
I got slowed down by at least 3 to 4 days because I had a massive blowout in my second story. Pants? In my pants. That's a daily occurrence. Thank you,
yeah.
Imodium. But it's a daily occurrence.
You switched the milk with the Imodium again?
Yeah, I always get those mixed up.
Just put it in your cereal?
No, but what happened was on my second story of my home, I had a main water line burst, and it flooded my brand new floors. Yeah, flooded my brand new floors that I just put in the week prior myself. And then I had to basically take a bunch of stuff out, redo stuff, take out drywall.
That sounds
blow
super
hot air
fun.
everywhere.
Like, it's probably what everyone wants to do.
It was horrible. It felt like heart crushing because I had just worked so hard.
I hate water.
I hate water in places it shouldn't be.
I had to stop by my sister's house too and help them look for a leak because they had problems with water as well. It just sucks. Why did we ever do indoor plumbing? Indoor plumbing is the worst idea in the world.
Yeah, so it helps when you need to wash your hands or go poop, right?
Yeah, but you don't only do those things like once a day.
I definitely see the value now in having a laundry room outside of the house.
Or that's not on the second story.
It's convenient, right? Because usually it's by your rooms and those sort of things. And my esposa really likes that, you know. But it's a rough one when you have a water line break.
Yeah.
Just a lesson for y'all. Just
don't let water lines break.
Yeah. So
you should just avoid that.
Yeah,
just avoid water lines breaking.
You know what I would like to do though? I've got an itch, and there's only one type of medicine for that itch.
That's more cowbell.
That's more cowbell. That's traveling itch. I get this traveling itch, and I really like to travel.
Are you getting the itch already?
Oh,
I mean, we just left
fervently.
Last week, we left Europe, right?
Well, I don't know if I'd call it last week.
Ish.
And we're at March, April, May, June, July. We're at almost 6 months.
That's so weird.
Yeah, we're at the end of this month. It'll be 6 months.
And it's not like that was like a bigger part of the outbreak.
Right, yeah. It's not like there was an active outbreak while we were traveling or anything like that.
But you did have the antibody test.
I had I had an antibody test probably
a month ago?
Yeah, maybe like a month ago. The place where I work at was giving free antibody tests for its employees. And
were you required to have them?
Not the antibody test.
Okay.
They did want, just this week actually I got tested. Because they're doing just a wide sample, they want to see.
So I've heard like
people
the actual COVID test it's kind of like getting a massage.
Yeah, it's like getting
soothing on your frontal lobe,
a soothing massage inside of your brain. Exactly. With a dry swab.
Yeah.
If it was a wet swab, it probably would have been much more comfortable.
Yeah.
But it was a very dry swab up the schnoz.
And it's large, right? I mean,
it's long enough to go to what's called your oropharynx, so it has to go all the way back basically to where the roof of your mouth starts connecting into your nose, your nasal.
How far
cavity.
up is that? Like if you went from your ear? Like,
no, not to the ear.
Like, is it like here? It's like mid brain?
It's about this, about 3 inches.
That's so far back there
that you get to your oropharynx area. Because he has to go up.
And what does that area do? Like, what's the Like, why are they checking there?
That's just usually where the virus would harbor, and it'd be moist enough of an environment that would live. So anyways, yeah, I got swabbed. But the crappy thing about where I got tested is that it takes 5 days for those test results to come back.
What?
Yeah, so it's like, this is not very
But you weren't tested because you're
test.
having like a dry cough and like...
No, I was asymptomatic.
Okay.
But they wanted a wide swath of people in our hospital to get tested just to kind of get screened. So,
you signed up for the nose massage.
But the only thing that scratches my itch is a little bit of an adventure, a little bit of a travel, you know? Snap, crack, pop.
Yeah.
But I found out Europe won't let us in.
I know.
Right?
Isn't that wild?
You hear about this travel ban to Europe?
Just the U.S. Like, Trump got his travel ban, just as going the other direction.
Man, I don't blame him.
No.
I mean, to be honest with you, if their numbers are going down and ours are going up, then lock it down, bro.
Definitely has some concerns there.
Dude. So,
and there's some states that, like, were, like, really loose for a while that are, like, now kind of going crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Florida, what was it? Six of its main or 60 of its main hospitals. 60 sounds like a lot. But maybe 6 of its largest hospitals are now going on divert, saying their ICUs and med-surg floors are pretty much filled up now.
What?
Yeah. And they're saying we're at capacity now. So we can't control anymore, take any more admissions.
Yeah.
So that's bad for Florida. Super bad.
Yeah.
Super bad for Florida. And then Texas is getting close. There's several of the hospitals and counties.
Yeah, did like Oregon did mandatory face masks, and Texas did. That was the last state I thought they would ever do it.
Yeah, that is surprising.
Yeah. But they were like, well, we're all bandits anyway, so we may as well put on bandanas.
I was hearing an interesting thing about, and I didn't see statistics to back this up, but there are statistics showing the numbers were so low. In Japan, they were one of the latter countries to do any type of restrictions.
Right.
And they were one of the throughout the whole country, everybody almost always wears masks. It's like a standard for them. As soon as they started hearing about any type of virus, flu season, cold season, everybody
stop clicking on that.
Everybody's nobody can hear that.
I can hear it in my headphones.
No.
Yes, I can.
No.
Okay.
But almost everybody there wears masks. And so they're saying like they think that they had they had one of the lowest economical impacts, and they had one of the lowest outbreak impacts, even though they were like right next to China.
So do you think like ongoing they're just going to keep making people wear masks?
I mean, if it's effective, I see why not. If that's more effective, if it's truly causing dissipation or a decrease in outbreaks, man, that's way better than having to take an antiviral medicine or take some type of hospital admission
or be shut down.
Yeah. Like, I mean, okay, so then no big deal. Whatever. If I have to wear a little mask and that makes it easier for the entire country to function and economy to thrive, and whatever.
Yeah. If that's the one thing that they require, it's
harder for kids.
Yeah.
It's the kid one that's tough, right? Because
it's in Oregon. It's under 12. It's not required.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking about like when schools start back up.
Right. Can you imagine all day long?
That would be really, really hard to get your kid to wear a mask.
And they don't require it in office spaces yet unless they're the public side of the office, at least in Oregon.
Oh, well, I mean, hospitals.
But they can also rotate where people are and kind of regulate how they like clean and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different than a grocery store.
But so as far as like Europe shutting down borders from the U.S., now, ironically, there's a couple articles that are coming out that a lot of the Mexico border towns have started, and some of the mayors there have started shutting down entrance from the U.S. border into Mexico. Yeah, only for essential, they're saying like essential kind of visa
I saw
users.
A thing, it was like a poll, 81% of Canadians think their border should remain closed to the United States. I kind of don't blame them either.
I don't blame them.
Like,
man. Why not? I mean, if we were concerned about Canada having this massive outbreak and we barely had anything, shut the border down. I mean, it's logical.
Yeah, I mean, I see the pluses and minuses. I get the country's free to do it. It's their country.
It's their country. But also, I mean,
it doesn't mean
you have to stop trade, but non-essential vacations there. Okay, yeah.
Well, I had a thing that got ordered the other day, and it actually said in the shipment, like I was reading the shipment for it, and it said, because it was shipping out of mainland China.
Oh, okay.
And it said packaged, and then it said sanitized and sent to shipping facility.
Oh, wow.
In the tracking information.
Sanitized? Really?
Yeah. Sanitized and sent to tracking.
Very interesting.
Or sent to shipment.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So, getting on the subject, those of China a little bit here. We have quite a bit, guys, that we're going to go over with China, and not without risk. Not without risk. Our conversation tonight actually could potentially have a risk to us breaking a law.
Yeah. Well, not
in our
here.
Conversation.
Not in our country.
No, not in our country, but in China and Hong Kong.
Yeah, which we have quite a few viewers from there.
Yeah, we actually have a couple, that dabble from China. But so interesting thing that recently has taken place. China instituted a new security law.
It's actually not really security law as much as it is like you can't use security and we get to see what you're doing for everything.
Oh no! This is different.
Oh, they get a backdoor.
Nope, this is different.
Okay, keep going.
So, China outlaws global activism essentially, in reference to
similar to what we were talking about last week, where the people's accounts in Zoom got shut down because they were anti.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, last week, Beijing forced upon Hong Kong an article making it illegal for anyone in the world, even if you're not a citizen of Hong Kong, to promote any type of democratic reform in Hong Kong.
Well, what are they gonna do to us over here?
So this is what the law says. This law shall apply to offenses under this law committed against Hong Kong Special Administrative Region from outside the region by a person who is not permanent resident of the region. In other words, every provision of the law applies to everyone outside of Hong Kong, including you.
And then what? What are the repercussions?
So yeah, that's a great question.
That's weird.
So what they're saying is, in kind of the law and extending, it can, if you break this law and then you fly into mainland China or Hong Kong, you could be arrested, you could be placed in prison. If you have any type of assets in Hong Kong or
that
China,
travel bug.
Those assets, I know, those assets could be forfeited to the state.
Oh,
yeah. So if you have finances in a Hong Kong owned or Chinese owned company, even.
So for instance, folks that are listening, like Binance, which would be like a cryptocurrency trade.
Yeah. So I mean, and they're increasing use of market access. So like, for example, China had this was like in late 2019, kind of a big frustration that took place with the NBA. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
But one of the main like marketing people for the NBA kind of spoke as a proponent for the Hong Kong protests.
Yep.
And so they made the NBA apologize for that.
Yep.
Because they were going to ban them from
we
coming
talked
in.
about that.
Mm-hmm. And so that tweet that he had made in 2019 technically would now be illegal in China and Hong Kong, and he would face legal repercussions.
Although,
in those countries.
So is it only if it can be broadcast there? Because like YouTube's not viewable there.
No, you can be held You can be held if it's on any platform, if it's said anywhere in the world under any circumstances.
Yeah,
that's like bonkers.
It's bananas.
That's bananas that they would try to basically hold the world hostage off of what they're saying.
It shows how much they are fearful of democracy.
Well, I heard somebody say it's the obsession with seizing the narrative setting power. So they're obsessed with setting the narrative and not allowing anyone to dictate or to stray away from their message.
In my mind, what this actually is saying is they know they're wrong and they're just trying to control the narrative. I've had people do this in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Try to control the narrative, try to control the story.
Oh, totally.
And it's totally narcissistic.
Yep.
And it's sadistic, it's manipulative.
Yeah. So here's so you know how I was saying, like, authorities in Hong Kong and China will arrest an individual if they see that they have those types of derogatory statements towards a democratic state in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
But also they're saying that they're going to potentially start requesting extradition against major targets.
Like in the States?
Mm-hmm. And everywhere in the world. they're going to say your citizen
broke our law.
Broke our law as being a proponent for Hong Kong protests. This is going to cause
wars.
Isn't that
so? This
that's
would
a big deal.
This leads directly into. So people might think like, oh well, I never want to go to China. It's not a big deal. Nothing I say is going to be a problem. Well, we talked a few months ago about an act that they were trying to build in a backdoor to anything that you're doing in your phone, your data, all that kind of stuff. The United States has wanted to do that. They call the Earn It Act. There's another act now, jumping kind of bleeding into all these other topics that we have for tonight. There's another one right now that is even worse than that essentially says you have to have a way that when we subpoena it, we can get any information from any user.
Yeah.
No.
Government?
Here. United States of America.
Okay. But China just did something like that.
China did. And we have the same laws on the books right now. And it kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of different things that people don't think is a big deal. Like the whole like net neutrality movement.
Do we have the same exact thing here now?
We don't yet. But they're trying to push for people like Apple who have gone against the government and said we're not going to de-encrypt this phone. We're not going to give you that information. That goes against all of our security, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter what they've done. And if you can't get them to unlock it, we will not give you a backdoor to this because they know what a downward spiral that would be. And so they're trying to make it.
Free speech.
They're trying to make it so that every type of encryption, which is supposed to keep people out, everybody out, should have a backdoor, which means essentially that encryption is null and void.
Yeah. Well, so this new law that they passed in Hong Kong that already was taking place in China is called the Great Firewall.
Yeah.
And essentially
that blocks things that they don't want coming in.
Well, it blocks things they don't want coming in
for them to see.
But the law gives authorities in China the power to demand individuals and service providers to remove content or access to content deemed threatening to national security or threatening the national image, basically. And then they can require that those individuals' IP addresses be given to the state. And their phone numbers of the individual that posted it be given to the state as well.
So Microsoft and Zoom have both come out and said, and there's a couple others that have officially said they're not going to be doing these security requests that China asks of them for Hong Kong. TikTok went as far as to say we're pulling out of Hong Kong altogether, so they're not even going to have their app there available.
But which is wild because TikTok is owned by a Chinese company.
Yeah, so that kind of bleeds. This is why I said this whole thing is just a web that we're talking about tonight. Like people need to see the bigger picture of what's going on here. Is that people are after your data, whether or not you think you have anything to hide or not. I think that you do. Not that you're doing anything wrong, but once we let go of this, once we let go of that security and our data as ours, who was it? Andrew Yang said that we should be paid for our data. So like Facebook collecting information about you for ads, you should be paid for it. Like your data is yours and you should own it. And he was pushing for ownership of that. I think that we need more people to step up and say things like that.
Well, the UK and EU does a really good job of that.
They have started to. They've done it kind of in annoying ways that are too complicated to go into now. But so there was a guy that I kind of caught on to like last week that made a comment. It wasn't an original post in Reddit. He made a comment about TikTok because Apple had come out and found out that TikTok had spied on a lot of users. Like we're talking, where was it? Apple suddenly catches TikTok secretly spying on millions of iPhone users. So this guy is paid to backtrack and reverse engineer applications and did this for TikTok. He did this as a job. But he did it to TikTok and found basically like if you think that Facebook is getting a lot of information from you, it makes it look like nothing. Like
compared to TikTok.
Compared to what TikTok is doing. We're talking like pinging your location every 30 seconds. It can see every application that you have on your phone. It can tell what version your phone is. It can tell your IP address. It knows your exact location at any time the app is running.
Let me ask you this. If you're running a VPN.
Yep, still.
Is it knowing what your original IP address is?
Yes.
But if you always ran your VPN?
Yes.
How does it know?
It has access to the data on your phone. It has access to the GPS on your phone.
Okay, so
the
VPN then isn't really making a difference if they have access to
it is not for that because you've given it access.
If it has access to
and he also found that like he didn't even get into like the details, like crazy details, and we'll put a link to this, but that you can go look at like the highlights of what he said. But essentially, like it can see anything and everything. There were apps that weren't not on his phone anymore that were still showing up on its list of having been installed apps, that it had the historical data on it. And so a lot of this was like hidden behind hidden things behind hidden things behind hidden things within the application, and it was compiled. And there were backdoors that they could set up their own proxy, which is essentially like its own ability to like privately control what it's sending out to the internet within the application. And he said that what it would do is allow them to change things in the application without having you update it and without you knowing it. So they could change the access that the application has on your phone while it's just sitting on your phone.
And there's no limit to what they could change.
0.
Wow. How does that app get away with that, but other apps don't?
They just they go through them with a pretty fine-tooth comb, but with some of those like social media apps, there, like I said, there was things hidden behind. Because there's a lot of applications that have things on them that aren't supposed to have them, and the only reason that they get called out is because they're usually utility to the person that downloaded them. So there's been apps that have come out that are like, hey, we'll allow you to share. Remember before it was mostly free for most carriers to use your phone as a hotspot? There were applications that had backdoors to enable the hotspot for free.
Oh.
And so the only reason that got caught was because people said, hey, go down this app, it does this. And so they caught wind of it because it was a utility that people were using and it was actually beneficial to them. So people were talking about it. Well, with TikTok, they're not talking about it. They're just saying, TikTok's awesome, I get all these views. Which again, he found out a lot of the views are arbitrary. Like they are artificial.
Like artificial generated.
And so you go to post something and they know how to rope you in and they know how to get you to get those likes. And they're like, hey, come here, people watching.
Or
you keep watching.
Or it's AI that's artificially giving you likes.
No, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And so some of them are real and a lot of them are fake, and they know how to get you addicted to continue to using the app, because what they want to do is have as much information about as many people as possible. It's a data collection app.
And then do you think that company is selling that information?
Yeah, for sure.
Who do you think they're selling it to?
I think, honestly, I mean, I know that they pulled out of Hong Kong. I think it's because they want to look good in the light of what's going on right now. That's why I said, again, that whole web.
Right.
They want to look good to the U.S. because they're already getting hammered by people saying this in the U.S. now. Don't do this. Get rid of this app. Get rid of this app. Well, if they pull out of Hong Kong, it makes them look good. But they're still in China. China has access to that data. They can't not have access to that data based on the laws that we just talked about.
So let me ask you this. If they have this like great firewall in China, right, in Hong Kong, and I keep hearing about people saying, well, you have to use a VPN to be able to access anything else out of that.
Yeah.
How does that VPN get out? How do they escape the firewall through those VPNs? Because wouldn't that firewall be able to prevent VPN?
It can, but the VPNs will roam. So what they'll do is they'll have VPNs that their IP addresses are always changing. So IP address is kind of like your home address.
Yeah.
Except, less specific.
Right.
Or more specific, just depending on how you look at it. And they'll find out what they are and they'll block them, but then they'll rotate them. People can change those IP. They can rotate their IP banks. They can move them around. And so they're constantly doing that to keep them from knowing which one is what. And if you can get through to that, then you can use different ways to look up addresses and stuff, and it allows your traffic to go through that, and it creates a tunnel basically out of the firewall.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So think of it like a secret trap door that's out of your house that everybody else doesn't know about. And then all of a sudden someone finds out about it and you got to find it.
You have several different trap doors.
So. Yeah, or it comes out in a different location.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah.
So
basically a lot of drama going on with China.
Yeah,
a lot of drama.
So it's just, I guess I would say, like,
and TikTok.
Number one, we should all be pro democracy for Hong Kong and for China, for that matter, for freedom.
Yeah,
like
it's freedom of speech, freedom of. But the hard part, here's the thing with China, like Hong Kong, even though it wasn't the people of Hong Kong.
Right.
The territory of Hong Kong was, a colony of Great Britain. Great Britain basically screwed the people of Hong Kong by saying, we're going to give this territory back to China.
I think they're just scared.
Yeah, they were probably. And they were trying to look good by saying, we'll give an extra 50 or 60 years for this transition to take place. And now we're nearing that transition.
Yep.
And so the people of Hong Kong are terrified of it because they know that they're going to be under a
well, it's hard. It's one thing.
Communist rule.
If people are wondering, like, well, how come they're rising up, but people in China are not? Number one, they probably are to some degree. But also, if you don't know what freedom is, it's a little harder to fight for.
Well, but here's the other thing.
But when you know what freedom is...
That's true.
So, like, if that was to start to happen here, like to that degree, that quick, now you could argue we've lost some freedom slowly, and it's kind of like a frog boiling, which I would say probably is true to some extent in our country. With some things we could agree or disagree on, but if it all of a sudden happened where we had totalitarian rule come into our country, there would be an uprising that was similar to Hong Kong or worse.
Yes. That's for sure.
Especially considering we're all armed.
But here's the flip side to that. And I was listening to an activist out of Hong Kong, and he was talking about how his parents actually had moved from mainland China to Hong Kong.
Right.
And they were talking about how there's actually been, even though there's this overarching kind of big man watching you all the time, there actually has been like insane improvements to the quality of life for a lot of people in China.
Well, there would have to be.
50, even 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, 100 years ago, China was rice paddy fields and super poor, super low food, and they basically industrialized the country, right?
They've begun doing what the rest of the world used to do for themselves.
Right. And so the people of China are actually like, and the older population as well, and the middle-aged to older population, they're like, oh, no, this is actually a lot better. So we're not complaining because
definitely
we are eating.
I can totally see that they would have to improve. Otherwise, they wouldn't still be there.
Yeah.
Like, people wouldn't have put up with it.
Exactly.
And so it's kind of a reverse, like, well, we'll give them a little bit so they feel like it's okay. I think that country has got to be extremely fearful because if there's one thing that this whole virus thing has like changed in people's minds is they're like, whoa, okay, so things are changing. We need to do things for ourselves. We can't keep relying on other countries because what if we get blocked off? What if trade doesn't happen? All that kind of stuff. So if China's doing it for everyone and now everyone is, like, who was it that you had a link of the getting sued, like suing China over the coronavirus pandemic? That the whole world feels like that.
Yeah.
They just aren't doing what that country has done yet.
Yeah.
And they've got to be freaking out because if what's making their life good and what's making them look better right now is that they're doing all the industrial things for the rest of the world, and now they're starting to maybe potentially lose that or a good chunk of it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's a freaky thought.
I think they've become such a large market that they have enough leverage that the world can't punish them, I don't think.
They can't, but they can start to take things away, and I think that they will. I think people are going to
we'll see.
I think because of this pandemic, whether you think it's true or not, not you, but like anyone listening, it has caused people to try to think differently and solve problems differently. And I think that's a positive that's come out.
Well, what Jordan was referencing, I had an article talking about one of the first countries to actually sue. One of the first countries that's suing now China is Nigeria, and they're suing China for lost wages, lost revenue for the company or for the country, GDP's down, all this different stuff, the costs from this viral outbreak, and they're suing the Chinese government for $200 billion.
Yeah,
and I can't imagine
they're not going to respond with it. I think it's more of a vote of no confidence,
right?
And I think that they're probably not alone. They're not alone in thinking that. Yeah, Palpatine.
Right. Yeah.
Super similar to that.
Super similar. So that's kind of like a crazy thing. Like, well, okay, Nigeria's taking the first step. But it's also interesting because, you would think there are so many countries in Africa right now that are indebted to China because China's just dumped a ton of money into a lot of those economies. But it's surprising that Nigeria's like, nope.
Yeah. Now, with all this said, like, you might think like, oh, so thankful to be here and all that kind of stuff. We are in a time that's super strange. Like, as I've looked at it this week, there's a lot of people that I disagree with. There's a lot of people that I do agree with. I think that for the most part, everyone should be able to kind of speak their opinion.
Totally.
Unless it's like harmful. If it's like hateful, for sure.
Or if it's harmful.
But the problem is that nobody defines they don't define well what hate speech is. So like there's some people that are getting sued for covering over some graffiti from the Black Lives Matter thing, and they're saying they painted over it and it's being charged as a hate crime. Like
that's actually being the state is charging them?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
And it's like, what the, like, why are, like, that's not, like, just because they're painting over it doesn't mean that it's a hate crime. So like, that's why I say, like, I use that loosely because I don't have a link to that right now. But like, we don't define it well. But the one thing I found super crazy this week, I listen to tech news like three times a week-ish, try to keep up on stuff and whatever. And one thing that came up that was, Techatics, is that Trump got banned temporarily from Twitch.
Twitch or Twitter?
Twitch.
He's on Twitch?
Okay, so that I'm super glad that you said it that way, because I paused it and rewound and went back and listened like 4 times to make sure that it was said right, and then went and read this article to make sure that it was right. Apparently, so for those of you who don't know,
please tell me he had games on Twitch.
Please. So for those of you that don't know, Twitch is primarily a game streaming platform. They have recently started doing like talk show type stuff and stuff, and we've streamed on there before. But it's mostly games. But apparently his rallies get like simulcasts, and he has a Twitch channel. And they temporarily banned him from his rallies from streaming on Twitch for quote unquote hateful conduct.
But temporarily.
Temporarily.
So is he already back on?
I have no idea. I didn't look again. This was just like a week ago. But I was like, okay. As much as there's a ton of things.
It's virtue signaling what they're doing.
Yeah. So there's a ton of things that I would say I disagree with Trump on. Yeah. But I cannot say, and I don't think that anyone can say that they disagree with everything that he says.
Right.
Because there are some things that that we would all have in common with.
It's virtue signaling.
Yeah, it's what it is. Silly. And I think it's just stupid and silly. And it's like, guys, come on. Can we just not do that? Let's not. It's just, that's those things when I look at them, it kind of heads towards the direction of what China has said. It's definitely not as extreme. But when China says we want to control what's being said, and someone comes out and says this is hateful conduct. Yeah. No, it's not. You just disagree with it. And that's totally okay. Right. But it doesn't mean that you should ban them from a platform.
Dude, what was one of the big things that you were saying Chrome is changing?
Okay.
What's this big deal?
So this is crazy.
I got it. I
will share a very vague story of something that happened this week. Someone I know got a call from Apple, and they said, "Hey, there's something wrong with encryption on your phone." And they said, "Okay, well, I'll tell you what. To verify that you're real, give me your phone number. I'll call you back."
Wait. He told Google or Chrome to do that?
No. So, this is leading into what the whole Chrome thing is, because this is.
I
want to give a reason why Chrome is doing things like this.
Okay.
So they called them back and they answered, and then they allowed them to install software on their computer, and they got access to their computer, and it was totally a scam. And they have to have their computer wiped and all that kind of stuff. What? So because of the scammer and doing things like that. So this is the type. So like, your computer is only as smart as the user. And I'm not saying that this person was stupid. I'm just saying they didn't know any better. And so there's a ton of people out there that just don't know any better, but we're all stuck in this world of the internet. And so there has to be simple ways for us to, I know you're wanting to know who it is, and I'm not going to tell you.
We'll talk offline. We'll talk.
And so it's like, and to like mitigate that type of thing happening, right? Because you get an email, it says, "Hey, your Apple ID has been compromised or whatever," and you look at the link, you're like, "Oh, looks like Apple. Looks just like their webpage."
Right, sure. Some Nigerian.
So people don't know what to look for in that URL or the hyperlink that's above in the address bar.
Security box and everything.
And so what Chrome is changing, or it's actually in beta right now, but I think that they will come out with this, is that they're going to stop showing the entire hyperlink by default, and it will just say the domain that you are connected to. So if it's apple.com, it will say apple.com. It will not say any of the other stuff. It's just going to tell you the domain, and it will have a lock there if it's secure, which most sites are. If you don't see a lock there, please just refrain from using that website unless you really know what it is, because that means it's HTTPS versus HTTP. If it's just HTTP, just so you know, if you type in a username and password, it is plain text. Someone could just read it.
HTTPS is the secure version.
So they're looking at changing that to just show the domain. Now, before people freak out and they're like, well, I want to know where the tabs are. Like, you can hover over it and it will still show you the whole link. But to make things simpler, because people don't know what to look for in that domain.
So how is that going to increase security, though?
Because that way, when you go to click on something that say your grandma gets an email and it says your Apple ID has been hacked, click here to change your password. Well, it would take them to a page that looks just like Apple's page, and they would type it in, and they're like, it didn't change my password. That's weird. No, you just gave them your password. Like, they're just collecting your password, and now they can go lock down your account. They can do whatever they want. They can check your email. They can now get your bank information, yada, yada, yada. Gets them down the line to get all that stuff. So what they're thinking is just a simple solution is grandma clicks on that link. Oh, that doesn't say apple.com. It says apple.com. Like, it looks really close, but instead of having all the confusing jargon,
all the extra jargon is confusing people.
Yes. So they're like, this is the important thing that you need to see. Is that who you meant to go to? And they want to just show people that. So I think it's a really cool creative idea that's very simple for them to implement.
I guess my question would be, would it differentiate between if there was, because you could have something that says apple.com/
yes, but they can't. But they
can't.
Yeah, but they can't have the apple.com domain. It would have to be something else. So they're showing you the controlled thing. Yeah.
.com.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but it would be harder to spot that if you had a long chain.
That makes sense. That's good. So I think that's a good precaution. I like that.
I think it's a cool, creative, simple idea. Yeah. I was like, man, I don't know why I never think of that. It seems like a really cool idea.
It's good looking out is what I'd call that. Good looking out. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm hopeful that there's more versions of internet security as time goes on. And I think there will
have to be, because our encryption now is like nearing end of life and not good enough, and especially if they start putting backdoors on everything.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
For sure. Did you want to hit some TILs?
Let's do it.
All right, dog. I'll throw my TIL out there.
I have 3. So.
I only got one TIL, so you can...
You can steal one of mine.
I'll throw one and then you can throw them. Today I learned that Elvis Presley, the one and only, he recorded over 600 songs throughout his career.
Yeah.
And did not write a single one of them on his own.
I believe it.
I had no idea.
A lot of them were like, he did like hymns too. Like,
yeah. He stole a lot of his stuff, I'm pretty sure.
And his dance moves.
Yeah. Talk about cultural...
And a lot of hearts.
You want to talk about cultural appropriation right now?
Yeah.
Elvis was there, man.
He stole a lot.
He was there.
A lot of hearts. Today I learned that the U.S. $2 bill is still being produced in large numbers, which I thought, but I didn't realize it was this large. The apparent scarcity of the bill is caused by collectors taking it out of circulation because they think that it's rarer than it actually is.
That's interesting. So just a bunch of weird hoarders, basically.
Yeah. They're like, oh, 2. They don't make those anymore. I'm like, look at the year, ding dong. It's 2020.
All right. Today I learned a Russian cat was used by prisoners to sneak drugs into their penal colony near Moscow. The cat allegedly had 5.79 grams of hashish and 1.56 grams of amphetamine under its collar. Interesting. Defense/prosecution lawyers each wanted the cat to support their case, but it escaped from its kennel before the trial.
That's a smart cat.
That's hilarious.
I went and read about it. It's pretty amazing.
I wonder if the people got off.
I don't know. Maybe they didn't figure out who it was that was doing it. This is actually interesting. I was like, oh, this is actually a cool solution to a big problem. Today I learned that perp walks or perpetrator walks are illegal in France, as it is illegal to publish pictures of an identifiable person in handcuffs or police custody unless they have been convicted.
Oh, that's interesting. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, shower thoughts.
I didn't have very many.
Well, you can have some of mine if you want.
Okay.
I only have 4.
One of them I think is a double.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Actually, don't read your first one.
You want it?
Yes, because that's one of mine.
Okay, yeah, you can have it. I love that one.
Yeah, do it.
Okay, so I'll skip it. Okay, I was thinking about jobs, guys.
Steve,
the one and only. No, not Steve Jobs. But I was thinking about a job, and really, mirror cleaning is really the only job that I could see myself doing. Do you get it?
Or camera operator.
No, that doesn't work.
It does. If you're a selfie camera operator.
If you're a selfie camera operator. There you go. Okay. Go for it.
Since The Matrix was released in 1999, cell phones have been replacing landlines and payphones, the only way that we were shown how to get out.
It's a conspiracy, man.
So the reason why I wanted that one and not you is because I went and read the comments. Did you read them?
Yeah, hilarious.
No. Did you see the one where the guy showed like when his ID expired?
No.
So in the movie, Neo,
Keanu Reeves.
So Keanu Reeves. Or Neo, the main character.
Guys, there's also a Matrix 4 coming out, just so you know.
It's going to be amazing. I think it comes out like the
same
same week as John Wick or something.
Which is baffling.
Yeah.
That's too much cool stuff to even think about in one time.
Haley just said, I can definitely see Curtis working at a 7-Eleven. Did you say something about a 7?
No. I think we were just talking about the shower thought. The only job I could see myself working at was the cleaning.
Okay, babe. We're talking literally. Thanks, though. Yeah. So his passport expires on 9/11.
Oh, wow.
In the movie, a guy
Does it really?
He showed a screenshot of it backwards when he shows his passport. It totally expires on that day.
Oh, wow.
Which is when a lot of the world, like they were saying, like they assume
is that when payphones stopped getting used as much?
I don't know, but it's like that's when the world began to be run by humans, is what they were saying.
Oh, you mean robot
like,
AI?
Like we created the craziness. Like,
right. Oh, that's wild.
And then it coincides with when we.
That's cool. That guy took the time to show his passport.
He went and watched it. In his article, he said, "I'm going to go rewatch the movie right now and take a screenshot." And he totally had a screenshot of it. Like
that's crazy. Rewatched it. That's impressive. All right, at the age of 30, you've spent a month having birthdays.
Oh,
it's kind of
weird.
A cool thought. And at the age of 40, you've spent a month and 10 days.
All right, so I'm coming up on that. Dying is when your skeleton finally hatches.
Oh, man, so true. It kind of reminds me of like not Doom. What was Diablo? The game Diablo. The skeletons
I never
would come
played
up.
that.
It's a fun game.
I don't know.
It's a fun game. Okay,
Whatever.
Last shower thought I got for you guys. Tanning salons that run on solar power are the epitome of a middleman.
Seriously. That's a good point.
That's a great point.
How many, I wonder, like, run on them, though?
I don't know. I've never done too much exploring of tanning salons. I have had a tan. I have had a spray tan one time, though. Annie and I went in one time, got spray tan together before we went to Hawaii. And got us a little tan, but it did not protect against the sun. So we still got to wear sunscreen, guys. Is that it? Do you have any more shower thoughts?
No, I only had like 2 this week.
Awesome. All right, guys.
That's a rare one for me, man.
Thanks for listening to episode 66.
66.
And shout out to Jordan on his anniversary. Shout out to Haley as well.
Yeah.
Anniversary.
Not today, but it was yesterday.
Yesterday, the big 2-0. Congratulations, you guys. Proud of you guys.
We did it.
Also, shout out to my brother-in-law. He got like this super, like, not common reach out from Google for coding. It's like some special program coding thing that they only send, like, it's like a secret code thing.
For AI.
Mm-hmm. And
he got called out by AI?
Yeah.
I hope he got called by AI.
He has to pass 5 different levels, so I wanted to give him a shout out, though. And hope you all have a great week.
You just failed them all.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. We'll talk to you guys later.
Because you mentioned it. Just kidding.
No more secrets.
No more secrets.
I doubt. All right, guys. Have a great week. We'll talk to you later. Peace.